So far, during the retreat, we've been looking at contemplation of the body, tracking the body. We've been talking about how important the body is in this practice. A very clear relationship to the body is central. The body is important as a meditation object, partly because the body is clear, it's obvious, and partly because the body is always now. So mind can be past, can be future. Mind can draw us away into a separate world, but the body is always in the present. So to come back to the body is to come back to the present. The body is the first foundation of mindfulness, and for a good reason. The second foundation is Vedana, usually translated feeling, and today we will do an experiment in tracking Vedana, and so we'll just get started. We'll talk about it after the experiment. So if you get into your meditation posture, settling into the posture, constructing the posture from the ground up, the grip, the lift and the balance. And opening up to the experience of the whole body. Experiencing the whole body. And then start to focus in on the movements inside the body that indicate breathing. Start to focus in on these movements. And now, watch the breathing. Observe the breathing. Witness the breathing. And be alert to this relationship. Watch the breathing. And now feel the breathing. Don't watch it. Don't observe it. Don't witness it. Just feel it. Feel the breathing. No watching. Drop the watching. Feel the breathing. And now come back to experiencing the whole body. Open up to the whole body. And from there, ask yourself, how do I feel now? Ask the question and then allow yourself to become intimate with feeling. You may name it or not. That's not important. What's important is that you feel. How do I feel now? is there any difference between watching the breathing and feeling the breathing? And if there is, what is it? You can.
When I watch it, I'm looking at it, I'm actually watching the rising and falling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an object, I'm seeing something.
So when you're watching it, you're watching the rising and the falling, you're focused on it, you're seeing it, you're imagining it.
I'm in my mind, because I close my eyes, so I imagine that I'm seeing it rise and fall. To me, watching.
You're imagining a seeing of rising and falling. Yep.
And when I'm feeling it, it's just that it just comes and goes, and I feel that sometimes it's long, it's short, or whatever. Is that?
So when you're feeling it, it just comes and goes, and it's either long or short or whatever.
Yeah, stutters a bit, stretches out a bit. Here, a bigger taking in of breath. Something. Is it?
It sounds like there's more detail in the feeling. We've got microphone. So it sounds like there's more detail in the feeling. Would that be right?
No, feeling is what I get when I think of it as, it's doing this, it's doing that, it's around me, so I can feel it better. Just the rising and the falling.
So there's more detail, there's more fullness in the feeling. More body to it, and it's easier to connect with?
Depends. I don't really think. Sometimes they seem to come together.
Sometimes they're the same.
Yeah, so I can't really take them apart.
Would you say that normally, with the rising and falling, would you normally watch it or feel it, do you think?
Well, I can feel it.
Before, in the past, when you reflect on what you have normally done, would you say that was mostly watching or feeling?
When I first start, it's watching it. And after that, it's sort of, maybe I disintegrate, I don't know. And then it becomes feeling, watching.
So you start off by watching and then that becomes feeling as well. Anyone else? Anxious to get rid of that microphone.
I see this word actually, I can watch body, but I can feel better.
So you find watching difficult, but feeling is much easier.
This morning, early in the morning, I wake up, I start to feel my feeling, the breath. At the time, the watching is quite clear.
It's quite
clear.
The watching is clear in the morning.
Just for a short while. After that, it limits and you cannot see anymore. Then you can just feel a bit feeling. And now also I try to watch it. Actually, my watching is very bad because morning I also feel that my breathing actually it just breathe for some time and suddenly it just draw and then become very short, just expressive, very short, and you can just feel it and can almost feel it.
So there is a difference between watching and feeling, and it sounds like feeling is what you do when you can't watch. Is that right? Anyone else?
When watching the breathing, you feel it's more detached. Although it's focused, but more detached. But when you're feeling the breathing, you're within it. That's a different for me.
Watching is more detached. It can be quite focused, but it's detached, it's separated.
Yeah.
But feeling is right inside it.
Yeah.
Much closer.
Thank you.
Anyone else find a difference?
For me, watching is more like a movement. As a whole, as a very coarse, not very detailed, but it's clear. Awareness is there. When it comes to feeling, when you go into more detail, that is, I feel it's flowing around my body. I can feel a bit of warmness, the warmth of moving my arm, and later I feel it, they're pushing lighter over here and pushing When you start to push, you can feel the energy are flowing around in your body. Then you are coming back to watching. That is my feeling.
So watching, you have movements which are an experience which is comparatively coarse, you
Yes,
said.
it's a course, like normal,
But-
like rising and falling.
But
This is very
feeling brings out a lot more
a lot more
detail
materials.
and subtlety
Yeah, very subtle.
and different,
Different material.
different
and
aspects
more
of it
materials come up.
come up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for me. Feeling is in
Yep.
this way.
Okay. Did anyone find absolutely no difference between watching and feeling? Yeah. None. No. Anyone else? Yep. Zero. I do this experiment, I've done it for some time, and the responses vary. Some people say that there is a difference, and it's quite clear. Some people say there's absolutely no difference whatsoever. Some people say there's no difference because I've always felt the breath. I've never watched it. Anybody would say that? Not today. And some people find watching much easier and more natural than feeling. Some people find feeling much easier and more natural than watching. Now, of course, this brings us to the whole question of what do we mean by feeling, which we haven't even talked about.
Just a question. Who does the watching and who does the feeling? Mind
This is
for watching
this
and
is-
the heart for feeling or something like that?
this is too profound a question, but I think we'll get there. I think
I mean, I'm very worried if my mind is going to control everything I do because
Yeah.
it's the whole point of meditation.
yeah. Okay, we'll go into that. Let's. You just hold it for a while, and it'll go away later. Let's have a look at what we mean by feeling, or rather what the Buddha means. The word is Vedana. Well, when the Buddha talks about it, and this is where he's talking about the tracking of feeling as feeling in Satipatthana. Here, a practitioner, when experiencing a pleasant feeling, knows she is experiencing a pleasant feeling. When experiencing a painful feeling, she knows she is experiencing a painful feeling. When experiencing a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, she knows she is experiencing a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. So feeling is divided into pleasant, painful, neither painful nor pleasant. In other words, feeling has got to do with the hedonic response to an experience. Feeling is the realm of affect. In English, we might say, that affected me greatly. Or we might say, that moved me greatly. The realm of affect is the realm of response, how we are moved by an experience. So, for example, I might be looking at the sunrise at SBS. I watch the sunrise. I see it, but does it move me in some way? Is it pleasant? Is it painful? How do I respond to it? That second one is the realm of feeling, of Vedana. It's how we respond to something. One way of looking at it is Vedana is like the flavour of experience. If you think about eating, when you eat, there's many physical sensations involved. There's crunchiness, smoothness, hardness, softness, wetness, dryness, and so on. And there's also the flavour. Now the flavour is not the crunchiness, the smoothness, the wetness, the dryness. It's different. But it's intimately caught up with the wetness, the dryness, the crunchiness, the smoothness. And it's the flavour which stimulates a response. If I get up to get more, what moves me to get up is the flavour. This is a rough analogy. So Vedana is the flavour of the experience. As that aspect of the experience which moves me, which provokes a response. The Buddha talks about these three basic flavours. Pleasant, painful, neither. If the experience has a pleasant flavour, I am moved to hold on to it, to have more. If the experience is painful, I am moved to resist it, to reject it, to get rid of it. If the experience is neither painful nor pleasant, I am moved to ignore it, or to be confused about what to do about it. Should I hold it? Should I reject it? Should I hold it? Should I reject it? And so the mind will bounce back and forth. So I watch the sunrise. There is seeing, the visual world, and there is the response. I like that. I wish it would last longer. And that's the realm of feeling, of Vedana. Sometimes we might talk about the mind and the heart. By the mind here we would mean the head, and we would be referring to the cognitive aspect, the knowing. By the heart we would refer to the feeling aspect. And so Vedana belongs down here, in the heart. And it's this relationship to experience. Is this making sense so far? For the Buddha, first of all, he will talk about the realm of panya, of wisdom, and this is a cognitive realm. This is the realm of knowing. And he'll talk about the realm of Vedana, and this is the realm of affect. And he'll talk about, for example, saddha. You've all come across that term, saddha. So usually translated faith. Saddha has to do with the heart. And again, it's feeling, it's Vedana. The heart is moved to respond to something. For example, we have the Buddha image here, and we can see it. Well, what is it? It's a work of art. Maybe it's not a first-class work of art, but it's okay. But in this context, we are moved by this object and we bow. Why do we bow? It's just a little statue. We bow because we are moved. The heart is moved. And this is the realm of Vedana, of feeling. In our minds, we know it's just a statue. But in our hearts, we are moved to bow. Vedana is this whole world of feeling and response, how we are touched by something and how we respond to it. Does that make sense? Vedana comes from the verb vedati, and this verb is ambiguous. It means both to feel and to experience. And this, I think, is important for the Buddha, because what he's saying is when we really experience something, we're feeling it. If I'm following my meditation object, I might have a relationship to it in which I am simply watching it. And that has a quality of separation, of detachment to it. And often it has a quality of someone back here who's doing the watching. But as I become more intimate with the experience, it gets closer to feeling it. And that sense of separation from it, that there's someone here who is watching this over there, starts to dissolve. So sometimes the meditation object might be very clear, but we do have this strong sense that there's someone here who's watching it. Sometimes we forget the one who's doing the watching, and there's just a feeling of complete intimacy with the experience, and this is more like feeling it. But we might talk about that a bit later. In English we have the same kind of ambiguity with the word feeling. So sometimes we use feeling as a noun. My feeling about this retreat is ... So feeling as a something. Or we might use it as a verb. I feel that this retreat is ... That's not a something, it's a way of experiencing. So we have the same ambiguity in English. Feeling can be very hard to track, to pin down. By its very nature, can be difficult to pin down. It's a form of relationship that has a lot to do with the way that we are responding to the experience. Sometimes we bury that sense, that response, when we're with the meditation object. Sometimes if there's a lot of willpower in the meditation, it's just do it, do it, do it, do it. And we don't allow ourselves to feel anything about it. Sometimes the relationship to the meditation is much lighter and there's much more of a feeling sense in there. The feeling may be very painful. There may be a lot of resistance. I don't like this. This is terrible. Or the feeling may be quite pleasant, quite soft. It can be anything at all. Feeling is both very obvious and very difficult to find if we look for it. Last time I was in Burma, I was doing a Abhidhamma course, and I was reading some books on meditation. I was interested in how the Burmese wrote about meditation for a Burmese audience. So I was reading about this particular meditation method, which is popular around the Mandalay area. And in this meditation method, the primary object is feeling in the body, feeling sensed in the body. Physical Vedana, Kayika Vedana. And the person writing the book was advising new meditators, and he said, don't look for feeling. If you look for it, you won't find it. And what he was getting at was, feeling is to us as obvious as water is to a fish. We are already feeling. There has never been a moment in our lives when we have not been feeling. It's just built into the whole thing. If we decide, okay, now I'm going to make feeling my meditation object, that means I have to find it. So feeling becomes something special, something hidden, and I have to look for it. But it's like me coming into the hall and looking for my glasses, and I can't find them. I'm sure I put them on the table. I'm positive they were there, but they're not there. So I must have put them somewhere else. So I look somewhere else, but I can't find them. Or someone must have taken them. I don't understand why any meditator would take my glasses. But they had to, because they're not in my room, and they're not in here, and where else would they be? So I can't find them. Of course, I can't find them because they're already here. And Vedana is like that. Some people get very frustrated if they start looking for Vedana because they can't find it. And they get very frustrated. And they don't notice that frustration is Vedana. So Vedana is not so much a thing as a relationship. It's usually, in the Mahasi approach, it's presented early in the practice when the body hurts. Ah, that's painful Vedana, that's dukkha Vedana, very good. So there it's kind of obvious, you're being beaten over the head by it, so you can't help but notice it. But it's much more subtle than that. It's like an ocean that we go into. Some people find it very useful because they find that they discover that they naturally relate to experience in terms of feeling. Often the meditation instructions use the idea of watching or witnessing. So watch the meditation object. But some people find it much more natural to feel it. They don't respond to the idea of watching. Other people do. They're quite happy to watch. It just depends on what works for you. When the Buddha is using language that basically refers to cultivating wisdom, he will use words like watching. So vipassana. Vipassana is seeing, watching. And at other times he'll use language built around Vedana, feeling. And this is particularly anything to do with saddha, which we can translate as faith. So we've got two ways of relating to experience. Some people are more inclined to one than to the other. It's good to work out which one you're most inclined towards. If you're naturally into feeling the experience, then just feel it. If you're naturally inclined to watching it, then watch it. It can be useful. Well, certainly I've found my inclination was always to watch the meditation experience, and then I started deliberately to feel it, and I found that very useful. And my whole relationship to experience has shifted more into the feeling realm than the watching realm. Play with it. See if it means anything to you. Some people, as I said, find no difference whatsoever between the two. And I suspect, well, there are various possible reasons, and one is that they are already feeling. So it's like nothing special. Why are you making something special out of something which isn't special? What about the second one? How am I feeling now? What happened there? Anybody find something?
I felt more open and more supporting energy there. Before that, felt a bit lonely. Yeah, when opens up, it felt open and supporting energy strong.
So that question stimulated a change in the feeling state. Very interesting. Yeah. Another experiment you might try is not watching the meditation object, not feeling the meditation object, but touching it. Try that one. You can try it on your own. See if it makes a difference. Another reason for doing this experiment is we're playing around with language. It's amazing how if you put something in a different way, people will experience in a different way. And what that shows us is that these experiences that we're working with are very subtle and easily changed by our concepts of them. This is what we were talking about yesterday with the breathing. So the way that we think about what we are doing affects what we are doing, the experience of doing it. So it's interesting to keep track of that and to use concepts that help us. What we're looking for is a closer connection with experience. We're looking to get as close to our experience as possible. So if it helps to think in terms of feeling it, then do that. If it does not help, then forget it. Don't worry about it. And that's true of all these experiments that we do. If it's helpful, use it. If it's not helpful, forget it.
When you touch, does that mean you have really got no faith? So therefore you have to verify that what you saw is real and what you felt is truly how you feel.
No, touching is...
But there's no saddha in itself.
Oh, no. In fact, saddha and touching have a lot in common. You're always desperate to get rid of that microphone. No, touching is... when the Buddha talks about experience, when we experience something, the term that he uses is contact. If I see, my eyes have a particular sensitivity, and they have a sensitivity to light and colour. So light and colour strike that sensitivity, and therefore I see. The ears are part of the body that have a particular sensitivity to sound waves. Sound waves strike the ear sensitivity and I hear. So I have a sensitivity, I have some kind of corresponding sense object. They impact and there's awareness as well. So there's sensitivity, sense object and awareness, and the Buddha says the meeting of the three is contact. And contact represents the immediacy of experience. Now, this is the English word contact. In Pali, it's passa, and it comes from the verb pusati, to touch. I am touched by experience. You might try touching the meditation object. It's like the impact of the meditation object on the sensitivity.